Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Executive Table Talk. My name is JT O'Donnell. I'm the founder and CEO of Work It Daily and the host / moderator for this show. Great to have you here today. We are going to be talking to our executive experts on the subject of developing top talent at your organization. Very important thing. I saw a statistic from Gallup this past week that says only 28% of people are feeling aligned with the mission and engaged with their company at the moment. Only 28%. That's pretty scary to me. And I think that gives us an opportunity. We're hopefully well past the pandemic and people are starting to get back into the groove of things. And I think a lot of people are struggling with developing their talent and getting everybody re-engaged. So with that in mind, I want to bring my incredible panel up, 3 pros that you've seen here before. Welcome, John, Lisa, Michael. Great to have you all here. Can't wait to hear about each of your perspectives on this. John, I'm going to pick on you first. You come from the education background, educational consultant. I really want to hear about developing talent in that kind of essentially nonprofit, service-oriented world.
Sure. Thank you, JT. So in the past, even in the teaching profession, there was always that stereotype of a teacher that went into their classroom, closed the door, and taught their students independently. But as we move well into the 21st century now, that model of teaching is changing because we realize if we want to up our teaching game and the way we teach people, not just students, but even each other as adults, we need to be collaborative. So when it comes to retaining and developing talent, we need to put, or at least from my perspective, we should put more emphasis on collaborative problem solving. So within the education space, you might have schools that have professional learning communities. I know that we've talked about this a little bit before, where there's a dedicated time built into the day, not before, not after school, but in the day, where teachers and educators come together to solve a problem of practice. So it's not leadership's job to run people through exactly how they're going to do that, but rather to put those systems and processes in place to allow the educators themselves to decide what their problem of practice is going to be, and then decide what strategies they're going to try to see if that will improve student growth and achievement. And then lastly, the time to evaluate that. What worked, what didn't work, to get over the fear of failure. So I know in a previous executive table talk, our colleague, Catherine Marshburn, was talking about in her industry, in the music industry, one of her companies actually had people come up and talk about, how they failed and what they would do differently. I think that is key. Being open to failure and realizing that failure is a part of the journey towards success. So really, to develop our talent, we need to have our talent developing each other within the body of our organizational structures.
I love that, John. In fact, I just want you to know that one of our listeners today, Lou Tapera, is saying, this guy is spot on. I do this at my job. So I love the interaction, folks. Keep your questions and comments coming. Lisa, I'm going to bounce down to you. Global marketing executive. You've worked in really large companies before. You know a thing or two about developing talent. What's your thought these days?
Well, I feel like I say this a lot, but I'm going to say it again. In today's competitive professional landscape, you got to find your edge. The success of an organization hinges on its talent, and attracting and retaining top tier professionals, it's just the beginning. The real challenge lies in developing the talent to its full potential. And just like John said, the strategic approach to honing and nurturing the skills of employees can create a workforce that not only meets the current demands, but drives innovation and growth for years to come. So let me give you a few other thoughts to add on to what John said. Dual mentoring and coaching, implementing a dual mentorship program that focuses on top executives and rising talent to facilitate that exchange of insights. On the one hand, you've got the traditional top executive that is providing guidance and strategic direction, navigating the challenges and cultivating skills for mentees. And then on the other hand, you've got that executive that is gaining the fresh perspective from the mentee while reconnecting with the pulse of the organization and innovative ideas. The second thing is stretch assignments. Give high potential employees the opportunity to step outside their comfort zone and give them tasks and projects in order to develop new skills. I want to give you a couple of examples. First, I worked as a brand manager early in my career for a well-known CPG company that wasn't known for innovation. And I was on the innovation team. And so they brought in Ernst & Young to develop strategic initiatives to generate 200 million in sales. And they brought in all their presidents, vice presidents, and senior directors for a week-long initiative. And I was asked to go as a brand manager. I was the only brand manager asked to go to work on this stretch assignment. And so I was really honored. And then after this week-long event, they asked me to present to the rest of the organization. I had never presented before, and especially to this large of an organization. So again, another stretch assignment. And then I just recently joined an organization where I had an employee come to me very frustrated that they weren't living up to their full potential that they wanted. And so I gave them a project and said, here, run with this. And they killed it. She killed it. And so I said, great, now go present to the rest of the organization. And she killed it again. And so what that said was two things. One, the marketing organization can show that we can take this to the next level. And two, take a look at this rising leader. She's here and she needs to be recognized. So those are some things that you want to do, is give stretch assignments to high potential employees. The other thing is opportunities for career progression. You've hired the top talent, and now this ambitious top talent wants to look for growth opportunities. And if you, speaking from potential, don't have, speaking from knowledge of this, if you don't have a career progression, they are going to get frustrated. I've had a number of employees come to me saying, hey, what's my career progression? What are my growth opportunities? And when I don't have it, they either leave, they're frustrated. So map out that roadmap, provide the career progression. What are the steps to take? What are the moves so you can keep those long-term employees? And the last thing I want to provide is something to consider is empower decision-making. Provide employees the power to make decisions and take ownership of their projects. It provides accountability and responsibility and gives them the key skills of problem solving and strategic thinking.
I love that. And I just want to say, one of our followers today, Annie Fatima, said, it's all about understanding the behavior styles of today's generation. And I think that's a lot of what you just talked about, is really getting to their needs and leveraging that so that you don't lose them. Great point, Lisa. Michael, I'm hopping over to you next. I want to talk about your incredible background in finance and operations. You worked in the NFL. What are your thoughts on developing talent?
Well, definitely love what, thank you, JT. I definitely love what Lisa and John had to say. They were spot on, and I'm going to be repeating many things they said. But start by unearthing the hidden gems within your organization. Unleash the mavericks. Developing top talent demands audacity. It's about unearthing those hidden gems that defy convention and challenge them to reshape the future. They shatter the ceilings and push the limits. It's about daring to disrupt the traditional norms, reimagining what talent development means. Instead of confining them to the standard roles, empower them to lead projects, challenging the status quo. Encourage them to cross-pollinate across departments, even if initially it seems unconventional. And forget about the safe zone. Throw them into the pool's deep end with assignments that stretch their abilities and force them to innovate. But don't just hand them a roadmap. Fuel them with a fire, with opportunities to spark evolution. Plunge them into the heart of projects that teeter on the edge of what's possible. Let them wrestle with complexity for those battles that innovation is forged. And create exposure. C-suite demands holistic understanding. Rotate them through diverse departments and projects. Make them adaptable, agile thinkers. C-suite's it's not just about operations. They're about shaping the future. And when it comes to mentors, traditional mentors are out. Disruptive allies are in. Pair your talent with unconventional guides, such as artists, scientists, anyone who can create a spark. Disrupting doesn't come from familiar. Embrace reverse mentorship, where these rising on talent teaches established leaders a thing or two about new technologies, fresh perspectives, and changing workforce. And next thing I want to talk about is one of my favorite topics, which is succession planning. Talent development is your succession plan. Identify potential future leaders and groom them for potential leadership roles within the organization. This is the future of your company. Leadership Crucible is where talent is tested at high pressure leadership roles to hone their decision skills, crisis management skills, and people skills. And finally, developing talent is an ongoing process that requires commitment, patience, and a genuine investment in your employees' growth. By fostering a culture of learning and empowerment, organizations can create an environment where top talent thrives and contributes to long-term success. Thank you.
I love it, Michael. I particularly love your suggestion to kind of throw them into the deep end and give them really big, stretch, challenging assignments. I know when I think back in my career, it was those times that somebody so trusted in me, and I knew, like, you had a little bit of imposter syndrome, right? Like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I can do this. And then you would, and you really grew, but you remembered who gave you that stretch assignment, who believed in you when others didn't, right? So I really love that advice that you shared. I thought that was awesome.
Well, thank you so much. And this task really was very enlightening, because you've mentioned many times about coaching. It's not just for people at the top. I mean, you've mentioned that coaching is for all levels, and this really, really amplifies that. What about coaching and who needs the coaching? So thank you for that.
It's so true. Listen, we have an interesting question from Maria. And I think all of you touched on the importance of mentorship, but this is a fair question. How do you measure if a mentor program is successful? I think so. John, let's start with you.
So I think, one, you want to look at the impact. So what is the goal of your mentorship program? And I just want to highlight that I really like that Lisa talked about the individual mentorship aspect, whereas I was speaking and Michael was speaking about the collaborative, because you want to think of mentorship at different levels and talent development at different levels. So I just wanted to highlight that. But to Maria's question, you want to look at impact. So what is the goal of the mentorship, whether collective or individual one-on-one? What do you hope to achieve by having this mentorship program? Obviously, in the case of schools, it's often about student growth and achievement or teacher practice in some way or shape or form. But again, you want to have that impact or the desired impact known at the beginning of your mentorship program. And I think, too, we want to look at how people feel about the mentorship. So there are many ways one could come in and coach folks that are very effective and make people feel more confident and inspired to do more. And then there are other times when you could come in and give coaching that feels more like it's evaluative or judgment, and then the person doesn't feel so great. So if it's really about retaining talent, one, we do have to worry about the desired impact, but we do need to consider how people feel in the process.
I love that. Lisa, what about you? I mean, you brought that up as well. Thoughts on how you've measured mentorship success in the past?
Yeah, I think there are a number of things that you're looking at, right? Are there skills that you want to develop? Then take a look at that. Is there confidence that you need to build in the mentee? Is there behavioral changes? Is there career advancement? What are you specifically looking to build for them? Are there problem-solving areas, independence that you want them to grow? What are the specific, as John said, what are the specific goals that you want to develop, and start laying that out, that roadmap, that map. And ultimately, you want a long-term relationship, and you want a long-term development plan so that they can be a rising leader in the organization.
Beautiful. Michael, I just am so curious at the NFL, was there formal mentor programs there, or was it something you had to seek out more on your own?
No, there were formal mentorship plans there. They had people who they picked out certain people to kind of develop and kind of walk them through to the executive level. So they did have a plan like that in place. Yes.
Yeah, love it. It makes sense. And a large organization like that, I would expect it. Great stuff. We have a question here, and I just think it's always important to bring it up and let me find it. The question is around AI and the concept of, and let me bring it up for all of you to take a look, is will AI, there it is. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Do any of you see AI playing a role in developing talent? Do we think it's going to hurt talent, help talent? Are you seeing anything so far? I know it's early on, but certainly something to consider. John, you're nodding your head. I'll pick on you first.
Yeah, definitely. So to Michael's point before about allyship, right? So when I lead a professional development session with adult educators, we often ground that in the use of a text, reading some kind of text, hopefully shorter rather than longer to get the gist out there, because there isn't a lot of time often in these PD sessions. But to Michael's point again about allyship and experts, that's a great way. AI is a great way to bring the collective knowledge of everything that's being gathered online into the form of even a concise document. Now, one does need to look at it and make sure that it's not wrong or outdated, but that's one way that I've even started bringing in AI into the professional development sessions that I'm facilitating, particularly if I can't find those experts live or something that a specific expert has written or video commented on. So that's one way that I see AI positively impacting the training and the development of our leaders and organizations. But again, really making sure that we're reviewing it and ensuring that the information isn't outdated. Because I do think, at least as of now, AI is about 1 or 2 years behind in the information that it collects. So that is important to keep in mind as a negative, to not just rely on it and not double check it. But again, that's just one example of how we could be using AI to develop our leadership talent.
I like that a lot. Lisa, you're in the marketing side. What are you seeing? And there's so much that is being leveraged with AI in marketing.
I'm a big fan of AI. I think I mean, you have to use it responsibly, but I think it will help us advance in a number of areas. And in terms of talent, you can do personalized learning. It drives ways to learn, personalized learning experiences, helping individuals acquire new skills and knowledge tailored to their specific needs, helping advance the overall organization. There's new opportunities and roles that are going to be created with AI, with research, development, implementation, maintenance. So it is going to offer, I know it's going to take away some roles, but it is going to open up new roles. It helps in the decision-making process because it can analyze vast amounts of data quickly. So yes, there are negatives, but there are also many positives that we need to take a look at and utilize in our use within the organization and talent.
Yeah, I totally agree. Michael, any thoughts, Dad?
Yes, I love the way AI works, and I definitely feel what John and Lisa said, it's very, very impactful. But I think AI can definitely lay out a plan, a roadmap for developing talent. And also, too, maybe if enough information is fed into AI, it'll tell you whether you have the talent internally or not, or you have to look outside. And when I was doing this project, I was thinking of that. Maybe you just don't have the talent inside to do what the company needs to do. So you need to look outside. Just a thought. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. I will tell you one of the things that keeps going through my head as a career coach and thinking about this is people are drawn to certain people for learning, right? Like we all like, you could look at one person and say, I love learning from them. And the person next to you go, oh, I can't stand to listen to their voice, right? Like, let's think about it. Like, so we know that impression matters, and that the future could be that they could build these avatars of people that build one that we know, John, if that person said it was, yellow, you would agree. You know what I'm saying? And I think we're going to be able to start to build avatars or learning mechanisms that really hold the attention of the individual based on what they trust and respect, how they'll take in and process that information, so that you literally could be teaching the same thing, but you chose your professor, right? Everyone's learning the same thing, but you chose. And if you think about it, like even like how you can change Siri's voice and to what you want, we already know that. We already know that perceptually, we all would want to learn from a different type of person. So creating those avatars, but then teaching the same thing, kind of crazy that's going to be possible, John?
And then to your point, JT, we also see, at least in my space, in the use of AI, simulators and actually using AI to virtually train teachers with student avatars.
Yeah.
So rather than forcing students to be guinea pigs, and where there are high stakes when you're obviously dealing with children, we're seeing AI being used for these virtual simulations where people can make as many mistakes as they want and it doesn't matter. So that's another benefit, I believe, to the use of AI for training people.
Yeah, I really see it as a big developer. We have a comment here from Ron, who's watching today, and said, attracting top talent starts with keeping the top talent you have and ensuring that they feel seen, heard, and understood and valued in the workplace, so that when they talk in their social circles, they would be able to reinforce their attraction as a way to acquire new additional talent. I couldn't agree more. So I kind of want to spin that around and ask all of you, is there something that you've seen recently or in the past in an organization that you think they did a very good job of retaining their top talent, and that led to, referral, right? Because good talent brings in good talent. Anybody seen anything like that you can comment on? No one? Lisa?
Well, I just think, an organization that takes care of their employees by saying, hey, we've got a good training program. We've got a good referral program. We're taking care of you with a good overall package, a good career progression. They have looked at everything that you need. They're personalizing it to you. They're constantly working with you and understanding what you need. What does that look like? They're always surveying their employees and asking what they need and doing those annuals touch-ins. That's an organization that cares about their employees. The management is constantly working you. They have those mentorships. They have those constant outreaches. That's an organization that's in touch with their employees, that's working hard to make sure that they're retaining. And when you look at organizations that see what is the average length of an employee, and you can see that it's a long time, that's a good organization that you want to stay with.
It's funny you say that. So there is an amazing company here where I live that has the opposite problem. They've done such a good job of listening to their employees and building out like every possible thing they could need that no one leaves. No one leaves. And what happens over time is you do need turnover. You do need fresh ideas, fresh perspectives, new blood in an organization. And nobody was leaving, and everyone was doing an okay job. But, companies need to evolve, and they need to evolve professionally. So there's this weird balance. You know what I mean? There are some companies out there that every year, not this company, by the way, but there are companies I know that every year cut the lowest 10%. You could be an amazing performer, but if you're in the lowest 10% because they were more amazing, you're out, And so these things get really interesting to me when you make it so good they don't want to leave. They don't, which is a challenge. John, you're nodding and raising your hand.
I love that. So my wondering for that company is, rather than cutting the bottom 10%, what about looking at, or even if it is the bottom 10%, if you need that new blood, why not we also start counseling people out, but not into a bad position, but into other leadership roles? So instead of looking at industries and companies as competition, what if, and this is more of just a philosophical, what if we did counsel people out, but gave them other leadership opportunities where they could grow even to higher destinations than they can in our organization? I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. And it's an interesting perspective. I've also wondered too, we've talked about in that keeping talent, the first year, they're really not of value to you yet, right? Like the return on the investment comes after you've trained somebody, takes 6 months to a year, depending on your company. And then you really start to see how they're all right, year 2, year 3, year 4. But at some point in time, should we seriously be thinking about putting on term limits? Should you really be at a company 25 years? Are we doing people a favor by letting them stay 15 and 20 years someplace? No. Or should it be maxed out? Like when you're coming up on your 5th year, there's a decision whether you're moving or I don't know what it is, but you got to start thinking that way because I have people right now in our coaching program that are saying, I'm getting penalized because they're asking me why I stay at my company for 15 years. Interesting, right? So you got to wonder. Lisa?
I agree with you on that. Because I think when you stay at a company so long, you start to lose your edge. And I could be controversial on this, but you get so complacent that unless the organization is very progressive and very pushing you to, or you're pushing them to stay up to date, you lose that edge. And when you go to a new company, you really are having to push yourself and show your worth and get up to speed really quickly. It is a make or break kind of, I got this. I'm going to show you. I'm working hard. And you don't have that when you've been somewhere for 10, 15 years. You are the top dog. And, sometimes something comes in and you've got to work hard, but then you're back to the humdrum. But when you go into a new company, it's like make or break. And you kind of need that push every once in a while. And I agree with term limits. I really do.
I'm with you. I mean, a study was done that said that, over time, your success is really a result of your relationships in the workplace, and your credibility, right? So I think a lot of people get to year 10 and they're not learning anything new. They're not growing. They're just leveraging the fact they've been there so long. They know everybody and they know operationally how things work. I think you should move. I think every job is temporary. And if you want to stay relevant and in demand, you've got to be making those changes. And I just wonder if part of talent development these days has to be, as Jamie, one of our followers today said, coach up or coach out. Like, I think there could be a journey of coaching someone and then coaching them out. I mean, Michael, NFL, you don't play in the NFL forever. There's always
right. No, that's very true.
Guys, right?
I was going to mention that on the NFL side, sometimes a job is worth, you've been there like 22 years, 25 years. They say, okay, well, this job is worth this much. This person's been here 25 years with increases and, promotions and benefits. We can do this cheaper. So that's something else. That's another perspective.
I totally agree with you. And I just think that that's a business reality. So, right. As much as we all want to be coached and we want to develop and train staff so they stay, we also have to evaluate when it's time maybe for them to move on. So I love that comment by Jamie. Actually, I love all of our participation today, folks. Thank you so much for the questions and the comments. Very engaging audience. Please take a moment right now to jot down John Shambari, Lisa Perry, and Michael Willis's names. Go find them on LinkedIn, follow them, ask them to connect with you. They are putting out such great information and insight here on LinkedIn. Really worth the follow, I promise you. And they're also regular executive experts here on Work It Daily. So if you want to see them more often, head over to workitdaily.com. Sign up for our free newsletter. It's Monday through Friday, and we're always telling you about our latest and greatest events that are coming up, like these executive table talks, okay? But until next time, I want to remind you all, if you want to win, you've got to work it daily. So come back and see us on Executive Table Talk soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.